There we go. I see Charles 75 ends here. What's up, dude? Give me just another minute or two. I'm going to finish inviting a few more people here. Unfortunately, it never gives me the link to the live stream to do that until like right as I'm setting it up. Mm-hmm. 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 One more. All right, good enough. So, where are we? Okay. We are. Yep. Then the Teespring shop. Alrighty. Park Kingery's here. David Lincoln, Tim Russell, Metal Base 79, Oz Coleman, and of course Dave Escobar, who I need to say thank you very, very much for being on the lookout for me, as he sent me a link to, he found a Mode 4 for me that I pulled the trigger on last night, and it was actually made me feel a lot better about not buying the one that I was going to buy the week before that was $100 more than that. So thank you very much. That was, like I said, I emailed you back and mentioned this to you, but that was. I think that's the cheapest one of those I've ever seen. So, I guess we won't know what kind of shape it's in until it gets here. It said good condition. We'll find out. But I don't know. I've had generally pretty good luck with it. So worst case scenario, if it's jacked up or something, I can always return it. Not a big deal. So, let's see. Ooh, all we got here. David Lincoln from Cape Cod. Cape Cod is in Massachusetts. Welcome to you. Let's see. There are 6 of us here with only 2 likes. 4 of you are slacking, says Metal Base 79. That's usually the way it goes. So I'm not always real good about hitting the like button when I watch somebody else's video either. So I just, half the time I don't think about it. Let's see. Park Kingery just picked up a Hagstrom guitar. Nice. Great guitars. I've got that Marshall on the way, and I actually have to go I got to go all the way down to the Greenwood store and pick up another amp that I've got waiting for me down there that I found uber cheap. But God, I don't want to drive down there. The more I think about it, the more I should have just paid the 20-something bucks to ship it. Because I really don't want to drive literally all the way across town and back from where I am. But I'm not going to say what that amp is because I have something very, very special planned for that one that you guys will see, but you'll see when I'm ready. Mike St. Croix, Jeff 7. What's happening, guys? I got a bit of a late start today because I was up late watching TV and hanging out with Zoe on the couch, and finally when I went to bed, it was late and I wanted to sleep in, and so I shut my alarm off so I didn't have to listen to it. And Yeah. That may have not been the wisest idea. Oh, well. None You Biz says, I pre-ordered the Fender 75th Anniversary Diamond Strat. Nice. God, we had 75th anniversary already? Has it been, I mean, the 60th was the last one they did. Has it been 15 years already? God. Yeah, 2006. Wow. I'm getting old. Epitome is here. Not epitome, but epitome has popped in. So, yeah, I don't know. So I got to drive down to Greenwood to go get that stupid thing. I haven't really had chance. Yeah, I don't know. I may put that off until middle of the week sometime. It's not anything I have to have right this second. So, oh well. I'm thinking out loud. Dave Escobar says new Kramers and new Dean MD24 Super Strats look pretty good. Well, everybody's got a Super Strat this year, man. A guy in another guitar group sent me a message on Facebook. He's like, "You get a Super Strat, you get a Super Strat, you get a Super Strat," because everybody's putting out a Super Strat this year. Even Paul Reed Smith put out a Super Strat this year. So, yeah, I've seen some of them. The new Kramers do look pretty cool. You know, it looks like they got a couple of signature models from a couple of guys that I really like you know, Dave Snake Sabo from Skid Row, and what was the other one that they did? Oh God, I can't remember. They did the Snake Sabo, and then they did the, I can't remember. God, yeah, it's gonna drive me crazy. I'll have to look it up. I can't remember who the other one was, but you know, somebody else from that era. Yeah, I haven't seen any of the Dean guitars. I know that I think Stay Metal Ray has done a, oh, he that dude's been throwing up videos of all the with his his own NAMM coverage for pretty much all week. I can't keep up, and so is everybody else. I can't keep up with all of it, but especially with the new. The new year, this is always a busy time of year for our industry anyway. So I mean, I'm, during the week right now, I mean, I'm concentrating on, getting, just getting gear that I have out the door. Not I as in my me and company I work for, but Jeff Seven says, you're getting old when you hear GNR, Megadeth, and Metallica on the classic rock channel. Yep, and to be fair, I've been hearing Guns N' Roses on the classic rock channel for a number of years now. That's not new. Megadeth and Metallica, though, I haven't heard of them on a classic rock channel yet. That's almost heartbreaking. Especially because they're metal. They're not rock groups. They're metal groups. Guns N' Roses are at least a rock band. Tracy Guns, that's right. Tracy Guns is the other Kramer signature model they put out. Nanny Bit says, I just want a standard production hardtail Fender Strat. Finding a Strat with a good old fashioned hardtail on it is not. They really haven't made that many of them. There's not that many of those, that have been made. So, I haven't seen the 75th anniversary ones that you're talking about yet, but that would, if it's got a hardtail on it, and that's what you want in a Strat, grab it. Mike St. Croix says, wife bought me a Jim Root Strat. I like it. String through body, mahogany, EMGs, 8160. Yep. Yeah, the Jim Root guitars are actually really really cool. You know, they're it's kind of been interesting because they're metal guitars, and you know Fender's not has never been, you know, yes, there's been metal players that have played Fenders over the years, but I mean Fender's never really had much of a, they've never done real well with attracting the metal crowd to their product line. And you know, now that Jim Root has had several signature models with them. Um, you know, going all the way back to the Strat and the Telly. I think the Strat and the Telly were the first ones, and that was only after he jumped over from Jackson. Um, you know, now Fender are finally starting to to tap into at least a little bit into that market. You know, and they're never going to try to dominate it, but that's their partnership with Jim Root, I'm sure, has been very 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 lucrative for them. Sam Knopp says, "How do you feel about DSL Marshall tube heads?" I love the DSL heads. With the the middle generation there, the ones in between the JCM 2000s and the current line, those I don't care for too much. But the current line DSLs are excellent. Um, if Jim Woodard from the Practical Guitarist podcast pops in here today, he plays one, he loves it, and I'm sure he'll tell you all about it. But all of I think the current DSL line is one of the best bangs for your buck amp lines on the market today right now. Actually, I think they're fantastic. You know, the older, the original made in UK JCM 2000 DSLs are also excellent, but those are getting a little bit harder. I mean, they're out there; you can find them. You know, they haven't been snatched up yet. You know, they're not to the point that they're not to the point that they've hit collectability, collector value, market yet. But but people are kind of starting to wake up to them a little bit more. So yeah, buy a DSL. Epitome says, think Dave Mustaine will go Kramer or Gibson. A lot of people wanting to know. Probably Gibson. To be honest with you, I bet you they're going to make a Flying V for him. You know, if I had to guess, either Flying V or an Explorer or both. So I think that's probably what he will do. I can't see Dave Mustaine playing a Kramer. He likes big guitars. He always has. RJ the Mad One is here. Herbert Schmidt is here. RJ says, wow, Robert, your video quality looks like 4K, nice and clear on this end. Actually, thank you. The truth is the video quality is the exact same as it always is. The difference is the lighting, because usually, for my live streams, just because it's only because it's easier, I usually just use a little battery powered LED for myself, and usually it does okay, well enough to get the job done. But that's not the same light that I use for all of my other videos. I actually use a big softbox for everything else, and I just happened to have the big one out here today when I was setting this up, so I just said the hell with it and plugged it in. That way I don't have to worry about getting up again in an hour when the battery dies in the LED. So that's the only difference is the lighting. Everything else is literally just about the same. Camera might be in a little bit different position, but from where it usually is, because I had to pull it down off of that stand and do something with it elsewhere this week. But as this one was, couldn't get everything I needed done with this one. This is my new one, by the way. This is the one that my wife got me for Christmas. It's a Panasonic FZ1000, which I really, really like. This thing's awesome. Big, and it's heavy. Which is kind of what's nice about that one. Now that one suddenly seems smaller. But Dave Escobar says, have you tried the Vietnam-made DSL 100H Marshall heads? I'm only familiar with the older JCM 2000 DSL series. Like I said, there's that middle generation there, and I think that the current one, I'm not sure where the current ones are made. I think, are they made Vietnam or something like that? I think they might be. But that middle generation that was, they just called the DSL 100. I think they may have had an H on the end of it. I don't remember. Those I didn't care for. I mean, sound wise, they sounded actually pretty close to the original JCM 2000 DSLs, but the biggest difference there was obviously build quality. And the middle ones, the new import version of those were pretty well known for blowing up. Like I said, the current DSLs, from the big 100 watt head all the way down to the little 1 watt guy, all of them, I think, are excellent amplifiers. Pardon me. Any business 92.5 in DFW has been having Metallica on for a couple of years. It's the more modern rock. It's the more modern rock on it. I've been having problems with the 75th anniversary Strat. Not hardtail. I was just saying I want a hardtail. Okay. So the 75th anniversary Strat is not a hardtail. He's just saying he wants a hardtail. Which goes back to what I was saying earlier. I mean, like I said, Fender have not made very many hardtail Strats over the years. They're out there, but finding them, especially on the used market, is not easy. I can't think of anything in their current line that they have that has a hardtail on it. So me myself, I don't know that I could play a Strat without the trim though. William Fitzgibbon says, sorry if this is asked already, but what's your take on Soldano? Great amplifiers, man. They're great. Soldano, the Soldano amps are, they're basically the pioneer of, the modern high gain amplifier that we know today. Because the Soldanos were Mike Soldano was doing that back in the late 80s. And he's the only one that was doing it back then too. Yeah, great amplifiers, but man, Jesus, those things are expensive. They've been expensive for a long time. I mean, I've got an SLO 100. What are those things? $4 or $5 grand now, easy. Yeah. I mean, they're excellent amplifiers, but not everybody can own one. And isn't the Mustaine-Gibson deal final? As far as I know, it is. I haven't heard anything otherwise. I mean, to my knowledge, that's a done deal. Dave Mustaine is now a Gibson artist. The deal with Dean is over, and like I said, Dave is now a Gibson endorsed artist. Which, like I said, I fully expect. If he's going to Gibson, I know they're gonna make him flying V. He's always played V's, so I know he's gonna be playing a flying V model, and they may make an Explorer for him as well. Kind of like Dean did with they did the Dean V, and then they did the Zero, which is their one of their Explorer bodies. So. Non-existent human says, happy to see everyone and to be back during a live stream. Yeah, same here. I think I know I pissed off one or two people last week that I'm pretty sure have unsubscribed. I haven't seen one of them in particular. I haven't seen in here yet. So, But hey, you know what? It's my channel. It's my live stream, and especially this time of year, if I feel like talking about playoff football for a little bit, just a break from the norm. Number one, I am going to do so, and number two, I am going to make fun of you if you complain about it. So. Dave Escobar says those M-Series Marshalls sounded terrible. Yeah, those are an entirely different line, and you're right. Those are complete dog shit. Those are some of the shittiest amps Marshall's ever put out. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Those amps were horrible. God, yeah, that MA, like the MA50, the MA100, Jesus. I've made fun of those in a worst amps ever video or something. At least once, and it's got to be the first one of those that I did, because I still get people commenting on that video all the time. Well, I love my MA50, my MA50C, and my MA50H, and that amp sounds great. I love them. Okay, yeah, go play a real Marshall, and then tell me how good it sounds. The cream of the crop, or what the cream of the crop? Says, he says 4,100 worth every penny with a great big grin. Sounds like you already own one. You need a purchase validation. Mike Jones says Dave Mustaine, they convinced him to play authentic. They are never going to live that down. That was a year and a half ago, and people are still making fun of the play authentic thing, which was a colossal size fail. I mean, God, what were they thinking when they put that out? Let's see. John Shetch says Packers, baby. I think they got a pretty good shot. I think it's gonna be Packers and Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Yeah. Jeff Seven says, just sold a Jackson I never liked for what I paid for it 5 years ago. Nice. If you didn't like it, why come it took you 5 years to get rid of it? Peavey says, got an 80s Peavey Butcher. Any thoughts? Yeah, those are killer amps, man. Great amps. They're good and loud, and they're heavy. God damn, those things are heavy. If you don't mind lugging those things around. But yeah, they sound great. They're still pretty popular on the used market. I mean, Peavey reissued that amp for a reason, because there's still a lot of people out there that like them. So the reissues don't seem to have gone over nearly as well as the original ones. But yeah, no, they're great. Peavey Butcher's a killer. Non-existent human says the Raiders moved to my town. Apparently, everyone and their mama is a big fan. I'd understand it if we were a Raider town before, but we weren't. Well, I mean, that's part of the reason why. That's part of the reason. The purpose of the Raiders moving to a new town is because, for whatever reason, their old town just wasn't doing it for them. Be it fan support or, support from the city if they needed. I think that was probably more the case this time around. I mean, they've left Oakland twice now, So, but yeah, that's there's nothing wrong with that. New sports teams coming to town. I mean, it's natural for everybody in that town to get excited about it. That's how fan bases are started, and that's how they grow. Mm. DR Guitar says short scale are easier for us guitar guys to ease into playing bass. If you're talking about short scale basses, I agree with you. Um, I'm wondering if that means I missed a bass comment. Oh yeah, I sure did. There is one up there. There's Rusty Shackelford. Says, any thoughts on short scale basses? So what Dave was talking about was, short scale basses. I agree. They're kind of a easy, for guitar players that are used to a shorter scale than a standard bass. Uh, Short scale basses are usually a little bit easier for people like us to play. Gibson came out with I can't remember what they call it now. They came out with a USA bass here. Is about in the 800 range. It was 800 to 1,000. It was basically kind of like something in the equivalent of their tribute. Matter of fact, I think it might even be part of their tribute line. So they're not real. No, not real high end basses, but they do sound pretty good, and it's a short scale. And they, Gibson told me directly that they really what it's designed for is designed for guitar players that need to track a bass every now and again. So, and that's and they're perfect for that. They're not overly. I mean, that bass isn't huge, but that's a full scale bass, and it would take up a lot less room if it were a short scale bass. So, yeah, short scale basses are cool, man. Yeah, Ginger, what's the dude's name? Ginger Baker. Played, he played a short scale SG bass. Did he play? I think he played the short scale SG bass in Cream, I believe. I'm sorry, Jack Bruce. Ginger Baker is a drummer. I think Ginger Baker has a reputation of being a real asshole. Thunder Falcon says RGD Marshall DSL 100 watt head made in England. That'd be the JCM 2000 series. Okay, what is with all the Marshall DSL questions this morning? Marshall DSL 100 watt head made in England, $990. Do you think it's worth it? Hell no. Even if it is the UK, the JCM 2000 version of the DSL 100, absolutely not. $650 tops. U.S. anyway. I mean, if you're paying any more than maybe $7 if it's really 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 clean, but I haven't seen one of those sell for anything over $650 in years. Hell no, 900, almost $1,000 for one of those. Absolutely not. Unless it's got if it's got a 1964 12 cab with it or something, then yes. But for the head by itself, hell no. Somebody's trying to take advantage of you. DJ Calvi says, "Hi Robert, great to see you. Bought a Yamaha THR 100 HD. This amp, those are cool. This amp, much fun for a guitar geek. So versatile. Yeah, those are cool. Those are that's basically the if you're familiar with the Yamaha THR, like the little lunchbox desktop amp heads, they make a bigger one called the 100, the THR 100. That's that one's actually I think it's like a 2-space. It's actually made to mount into you can rack mount it, and it's a cool amp. I don't know that they just refreshed that line, and I don't know that they have refreshed the 100-watt version yet. But yeah, those are great amps. Park Kingery apparently is working on setting up his new Hagstrom that apparently needs it. The Raiders need a 2022 version of Bo Jackson. Every team needs a 2022 version of Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson was a freak of nature. That dude was awesome. It's a shame that he got hurt when he did, as young as he did, because he was never the same after that. Rusty Shackelford says, yes, telling my situation. I'm a guitar player looking into bass. I use the, I've got 2 basses. I could probably stand to add 1 or 2, but I've got 2 basses. I've got this, this Charvel 3B that I love. And I've got my BC Rich NJ Series Eagle, late 70s, early 80s. Kind of hard to date that thing, but I've played both of them, so I have those 2. I would like to add a Yamaha. There's a Yamaha TH. That dog, I love that dog to death. But gosh, she's driving me crazy today. Yamaha has a model called TRBX 504 that I'd like to have because it's got some versatile, and that one's also a little bit smaller, lighter weight instrument, and I'd also like to have a jazz bass, a nice jazz bass laying around, just because jazz basses that's another one that's you've heard it on a zillion different recordings and never known it was a jazz bass, and I just like them. So yeah, so I could stand to add a couple more one of these days, but it's never been a priority. DR Guitar says Park can't talking about setup from the factory. He says can't be much worse than the new Telly I got from Fender. What a train wreck. Kobe out says, what is your favorite guitar tone from the 90s? Either something from the late 80s or the early 2000s, to be honest. I can't think of... I hated the grunge era. I absolutely hated it. And I can't think of anything from that era that I just, that just absolutely love the sound of. And, yeah, it's... If I had to pick one, it would probably be, Judas Priest's Painkiller. It came out in 91, I think. And Skid Row, Slave to the Grind. One of those 2 records. Maybe one of the later, the late 90s Rob Zombie, White Zombie, Rob Zombie records. But, yeah, I can't think of anything else through that era. Nothing's coming to my brain at the moment that I just have to have. So not to get political, what is your take on Peavey buying Trace Elliott? I don't know what how politics would get involved in that. Peavey's owned Trace Elliott for a long time. long time. I mean, you buy, not buy, but every Peavey manual or Peavey catalog that I've seen every year for the last, I don't know, God, I don't know how long. I mean, the second half of it has always been the Trace Elliott line. So, no, I mean, I wish they'd do. Honestly, I wish Peavey would do more with the Buddha, with the Buddha stuff, because they own them as well, and that's the brand that they haven't really, turned loose yet. So since they bought them, but Trace Elliott, the Trace Elliott stuff they've had forever. GR Guitar American Pro 2 Telly. One of the brand new ones that they just put out. Frets weren't leveled, nut wasn't cut right, low E was almost off the fretboard, fender was sending another. Worst QC I've encountered on a $1,500 guitar. Interesting. That's disappointing to hear. Jack Rosa says, Robert, did you ever see the 94 Bender Distorticaster? I have never heard of it. I'm not familiar with it at all. Jack Bird says, are the rev amps worth looking into? Absolutely they are. I mean, they're, and I'll tell you why. Because especially if you don't want to spend Soldano money, rev amps are basically that same build quality, but they're made in Canada. So if they weren't made in Canada and they were made down here on this side of the border, they'd be 3 times what they cost. But because they're made in Canada, they are far more affordable. And yeah, I mean there's a reason why they're popular. They just put out the version Gen 3 or V3 of the generator, the big head that they make. Yeah, I've never owned one. I've reached out to them to see if they'd be interested in letting me demo one or two of their amps on my channel. That was a year and a half or so ago. They blew me off, and I haven't tried again. But a buddy of mine knows those guys pretty well. He said he was gonna work on that for me, but I never heard back. I never heard anything, so that's okay. Maverick TG88. Top Gun. How come you don't have the K on the end of Maverick like you're supposed to? If it's that Maverick. So he's dropping any new videos. I've got new videos in the cube pretty much all the time. I work when I record videos. I usually record them a couple weeks in advance. So right now, and here lately I've been recording 3 weeks in advance. Just because I know here eventually the day is going to come later on this year when I need a break and I can take a week off and not have to worry about it. So, yeah, right now there's 2 videos a week. I've got 6 of them, and they're scheduled out, ready to go, ready to drop when they're supposed to. So, Dennis O'Rourke says, Robert, you use a hardware mixer, or you use the controls in your DAW? Just the plug-in stuff. I don't. I've thought about adding some more outboard gear to my recording rig, but I don't want to do that quite yet because I'm getting ready to as soon as I buy all the components and build this new computer. For that guitar room, which first requires me selling my my multi-track and a couple of other things. Once I get all that stuff done, logistically, how I get things done is going to change probably at least fairly drastically. But I need that to happen first. So, and I'm a ways out from being able to make that happen. But once I do that, then maybe I'll start adding some more outboard gear. Stacy Brown, what are your feelings on the progressive strats from Squire? I don't know. I haven't seen them yet, to be honest. So I haven't seen them yet. Squire stuff seems to be pretty decent quality though for the money. They've improved quite a bit over the years. I don't know what they're selling for, $300-400, I would guess. And that's literally a guess. But yeah, $300-400, probably pretty decent guitar. DR Guitar says the Rev models and the Helix sound good. I like them. I don't have a Helix, but or any. You guys know how I feel about that. About the digital, modeling stuff. I don't get along with it. That stuff's not for me. But Helix user people that do like it, that use the Helix, man, there is a ton of good sounds to be had out of that thing. I just don't want to screw having to program it. DJ Calvi says, Robert, just tell you I tried a distortion pedal, Peavey MT1. Small pedal, sounds great for the price. Give it a shot. You won't regret it. Stay on my board. I will check it out. Peavey. Interesting. Tell you what, let's do the Google on that one. Peavey MT1. Google tried to say Peavey Fuzz, which I'm not interested in. Oh, it looks like it was. Where are they sold? Is that like an Amazon budget brand? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yep. Yep. I haven't seen that line yet. That particular line yet, but cool. Yep. I'll check it out. Dave Escobar says $120 in GC rewards. Browsing their site later. Need to use before they expire. It's one reason why I bought an amp down on the other side of town from where I'm at currently. Because I need to use mine up. DR Guitar says buying PC parts right now is an exercise in watching your wallet deflate quickly. Yeah, I mean, I've never built a PC before, and doing it. I got you guys know my friend Tony Ramsey. He's very knowledgeable about that stuff, and he's kind of steered me in the right direction on a number of things. And I think I should still be able to get it all done for under for under $1,000, which if I were to buy that computer outright, it'd be at least 15, probably more. So I mean, there's definitely is save me some money in the long run, I think. But yeah, I honestly I don't know a whole lot about that world, so I could be going about it completely wrong as well for what I want to do. Maverick says, "Do you know what EVH amp Jim Root is playing?" Jim Root doesn't play EVH amps. Jim Root plays orange. He's always played orange. He's always been a big fan of the orange rocker verbs. I believe that the original orange rocker verbs are his favorite actually, but I think per endorsement deals he's currently using on tour, I think he's playing the current Mark IIIs, which are the ones that Orange wants to sell right now. Yeah, Jim Root's always played orange. Hey, JG Mopar's here. What's up, dude? Dave Escobar says Rev pedals seem interesting. Waiting till a good deal comes along. I like the purple one, the G3. I like all those G series pedals. I think they all sound killer. They are great pedals, great overdrives and distortions. Yeah, I'd like to have. I wouldn't mind having all of them, but. Let's see. Kobayat says, Robert, I'm seeing solid state amps gaining ground on tube amps in terms of tone. Are you seeing a familiar trend? I mean, yes and no. It kind of depends on what you're talking about. If you're considering modeling amps like the Line 6 Spider stuff, solid state, which I suppose it is, but it's not quite the same thing. I don't know. I guess it just kind of depends on what it is that you're talking about. I don't see so much of a trend that I mean, yes, I do. I mean, solid state technology has definitely improved a lot, and they are sounding better. But I think what I see more of is people starting to gain an appreciation for the older solid state amps that that don't have that, like, those digital artifact, those kinds of digital artifacts that you might see in that you might hear, that I certainly hear in a lot of particularly the older Line 6 Spider lines. The 5, I think they got it right. The Spider 5s, I think, actually are pretty good. But the 1s, 2s, and 3s especially, the 4s are okay. But the 1s, 2s, and 3s especially, they're digital, they sound digital, and, and that's, the only advantage they have to them is they get a lot of different sounds out of them. But I don't think any of them were great. So that's really kind of the bigger trend that I'm seeing. And, go out, think of a well-known solid state amp, like a Ampeg VH140C. Is known to be a great solid state amplifier. Those things are, number one, they're hard to find. And number two, if you do find one, they're going to pay $800 or $1,000 for one of those things now. Solid state heads you're paying $800 or $1,000 for. Same with like the Randall Century 100s and the RG80s and RG200s and any of the old USA Randall stuff that Dimebag played. Values of those are skyrocketing. Again, if you can find them. So, Jonathan Bird says, Robert, you are the man. Thanks for the great content. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Glad you are enjoying the content. Although I suppose you wouldn't be here if you weren't enjoying the content. That's kind of the point. Non-existent human says, Yo, Robert, why is some old gear information really scarce? Don't see much information on Sun amps. But that is just one many brands or old gear that I noticed that isn't covered much. Sun amps actually, I think Sun amps actually are still around, or at least the name is. I can't remember who finally bought them now, or most recently. Somebody owns them, or at least somebody owns the name. Again, I don't recall who, but you got to think. Back in when Sun amps were popular. They started in the '60s. When the Model T come out, '60s, late early '70s, something like that. And that was kind of their flagship for a long time, and then the '80s came along, and then they came out with some of the other, solid state stuff that they're known for, that, a lot of the Doom crowd, the Doom players love today. When you got to think, when those things were popular, there was no internet. There was no internet, there was no archive, there was no, there was no a lot of stuff, for information to not only circulate, but for it to be archived, for later consumption. DR Guitar says Sun is owned by Fender and largely shelved, I believe. Yeah, I think you're right. I think their Fender's owned them for a while. Now that you mention it, but you're right. They don't do anything with that brand. That was honestly that was one of those. Fender bought them specifically to take Sun amps out of stores and replace them with Fender amps. And Fender are notorious for doing that. They did the same thing when they bought Guild, which they no longer own, finally. But when they bought Guild, they did that specifically to pull Guild guitars down off the wall and replace them with Fenders. That was the only reason they bought them. Anyway, but yeah, but back to the the old brands question. They're just a lot of that stuff just wasn't recorded. Back back in those days, a lot of that information just wasn't recorded back in those days to where anybody could access it and find out what they needed to know. So you kind of had to be in the know or around. Nowadays you have to, kind of have to be around at least somebody that knows a little bit about them. So, and as Dave just alluded to, the part of the problem with Fender is, they're not gonna for as long as they don't do anything with that brand, which doesn't look like they have any intention on doing so anytime soon. It's unfortunately it's just kind of stay that way. So hopefully maybe somebody else will come along and buy that brand from Fender and actually do something with it again, but remains to be seen. JG Mopar says a comparison of the Amp Tweaker Type Metal versus the Rev Purple Pedal would be a good showdown. I agree. My money's on the Amp Tweaker, but just because Amp Tweaker is, those pedals are awesome. I still love my Type Metal Pro. I can't get a decent sound recording out of it for some reason, but man, that thing, it still sounds killer. DR Guitar says, Robert, if you have any questions about building PC, you want a second opinion, I'm happy to help. Thank you, sir. I will keep that in mind. I think I have your email address. I think. Maybe I don't. You might want to shoot me an email if you don't mind. robertsguitardungeon@gmail.com. Let's see. Charles75N says, yep, I have a Peavey Solo Series Bandit 65 and love it. Peavey Bandit 112 Red Stripe, John Shutt says. Old Peavey Bandits. DR Guitar says Roland JC120, arguably the best solid-state amp ever. I don't think there's any argument over that, and I absolutely agree with you. That's the best solid-state amp ever. You betcha. Okay. Yeah, you hit me up on Facebook Messenger. That's right. Thanks, dude. I appreciate you. Speaking of, and JG Mopar has been kind enough to donate to the PayPal fund. Thank you, sir. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. That's the Les Paul fund, which I am determined to buy the damn thing this year. I'm determined to buy that thing this year. Disclaimer. Hang on a sec. Sorry about that. Is it bad for this mic if I keep shutting the fan and power off and on like that? Oh well. Man. Yes, I am determined to buy that stupid Les Paul Custom this year, and that may mean that until that happens, unfortunately, that I don't, that I'm not demoing as much new gear as I usually am, and I may have to get a little bit more creative than usual as far as coming up with content for the channel. But yeah, that's something I want to do. That is something that I want. So, thank you very much for contributing to. I don't know why I just held up my phone for that. Thank you very much. I appreciate that very, very much. Where are we? Dave Escobar says solid state to me would be like orange CR120H. That one's really popular, which I was able to get some pretty good tones out of for solid state head. Tried a Frenzy amp. Those are popular. When I did the solid state best solid state amps video, that was one that got mentioned in the comments a lot. So, the Crush Pro series, those are the big ones. The regular Crush series are, those are good amps too, but there's a reason why they don't have Pro on the end of them. Those are more practice amps. JG Mopar says, I still have my old Peavey Special 130. Love that amp. Takes pedals really good. That was the same, I think that was out of the same series as the Peavey Bandit and the, what do they call that? The Studio, I think. Pardon me. Is that what they call it? The Studio 112 or something? Which is was like a smaller version, a little bit smaller version of the Peavey Bandit. There's a whole line of those amps that all had that same trans-tube technology. They actually all sounded really good. Kobiath. I guess I'm lucky you like me for as many times as I've murdered your screen name. Solid state amps like Hughes and Kettner, Quilter, Seymour Duncan, and pedalboard amps. They don't model so much as have a few gain stages installed. That's true. Well, the Hughes and Kettner stuff is like, if you're talking about like the Black Spirit. I think those are modeling amps. But you're at like the Quilter, the Quilter Labs, the Seymour Duncan, the Power Stage amps. Even like the Orange Pedal Baby, is a solid state amp. Those are, largely, a lot of them are largely just power amps. That so you can use your pedals, your favorite distortion or overdrive pedal as a preamp into it, which has gotten popular as well. The Quilter Lab stuff, especially, man, those amps sound killer. Let's see, Jeff 7 says just restored a West Avalon head. Information on that thing virtually non-existent. West Avalon, yeah, I'm not familiar with that brand at all. I'm no help there. John Chet says I'm currently playing DV Mark. Great clean and reverb, takes pedals well. DV Mark, dude. Those are that's the Mark bass. Those are Mark bass is what they are. That's their guitar amp line. And you're right, they great amps as well. Some of those amps actually, they got those little micro, they're like 200 watt little micro size solid state amps. I keep wanting to try out a couple of those. I think those are cool. Greg Howe is a big, I know is a big DV Mark guy. Well, I mean, he's got a couple of signature models with him, but still. Everything that dude plays sounds good, though. Non-existent human says I'm currently rocking a 212 solid state amp setup. and it's a shame to not find much information to refer to. It makes me want to get more of it. I don't know, man. At the end of the day, does it work and does it sound good? You know, kind of about if unless you're wanting to sell it, and then you're looking for information to figure out what it's worth. Different story, but if you're, if that's not the case. Trent Cersoni says, "What are your thoughts on Peavey amps? Which ones?" They've had, Peavey got a lot of amps out there these days, man. Just in their current line. For the most part, I really like Peavey. I like Peavey amps a lot. I think the 5150 is one of the slash 5150 6505 series, whatever you want to call it. I think that's the one of the greatest rock amps ever. I love those amps, but they've put out a few clunkers over the years, just like any other company that's been around that long. But generally speaking, I mean most Peavey amps sound really good. I've seen a lot of people shitting on them on the interwebs here the last couple of years, and I can't figure that out at all. But JG Mopar says, my main amps are Peavey and Carvin since 1984. I played a lot of different amp brands, over the years. I started with a crate, had a couple of crates, maybe a couple of crates. I had a couple of crate solid state amps, and then eventually I got my Blue Voodoo. And then after that, then I started chasing tube amps. And since then I played those, and I played B52s, and I played Marshalls, and I played Randalls, and a lot of other stuff, but Peaveys. Using Zip Kid says Waza, as in Boss Waza Craft. Good stuff. Also cool gear. Dave Escobar says, I'd like to see more pointy headstock Charvels. Yeah, I kind of would too, but they're owned by Fender now, so Fender's. I think Fender's probably trying to make back the money that they think they lost before they owned Charvel, when Charvel was still rocking the the Fender shaped headstocks back in the 80s. Maverick TG88 Top Gun says, what amp is best for 80s rock sound? Marshall JCM 800. No question. That is the sound. That is the amp that defined the decade. Not just my opinion, but the opinion of a lot of other people out there as well. So if you were going to pin it down to one amplifier, then of course that's not the only amp that was used back then. But if you were going to pin the 80s rock sound back, down to one amplifier back then, that's the one it would be. JG Mopar says, Dave, I just got the Jackson guitar they made from the movie Crossroads. I am sure back in the day it was a Charvel, but now labeled Jackson. I thought that actually was a Jackson, and back in those days, that was Steve Vai actually was a Charvel player back in that era when that movie came out. He didn't go to Ibanez until late 80s, 87, 88, something like that. Prior to that, he was a Charvel guy. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's played other stuff, along the way over the years. But, I think when the movie Crossroads was made, when that movie came out, at the time he was a Charvel, artist, and I don't know if Jackson had bought Charvel at that point yet. I think maybe they had. So I always thought that the guitar in that movie was a Jackson, but it's been a long time since I've seen it. I could be wrong. Jack Collins says, hello, Robert from Louisiana. Hello, Jack. Greetings from Indiana. Patrick Henderson says, Robert, have you ever played a Godin Redline? It's been a long time. It's been a real long time. I've played a lot of Godin guitars. Never owned any, but I've played a lot of them. The Redline, which one is that? That was their Super Strat. That's right. One of them. I remember those. Yeah, I remember those. Super Strats, like late 2000s ish. I don't know if they're still making them or not. Godin's one of those. They kind of keep a fairly low profile. Less, I don't know. Maybe they just put out some new ones. I'm not sure. Yeah. Yeah, Godin, man, they're another one of those companies that another one of those Canadian companies kind of keep a fairly low profile. They just make great guitars and kind of let their instruments speak for themselves. Trent Cerconi, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, your last name, but says, okay, this is going to be really random. What do you prefer, Chevy Camaro, Ford Mustang, Dodge Charger, Pontiac GTO, Plymouth Barracuda? Chevy Camaro, no question. Definitely the Camaro. Always been a Chevy guy. And after owning 2 Chrysler products in a row, both of them died. One of them, was a piece of shit Jeep Cherokee that died before it hit 100,000 miles. And then the next one was a Dodge Ram that had a radiator that blew up on the interstate on me at about 60,000 miles. I'll never own another Chrysler product again, ever. No, Chrysler can go suck a big bag of dicks as far as I'm concerned. The rest of them I like, though. Dave Escobar says, I'll keep a lookout for a black Les Paul Custom. Let me know if you're looking at vintage or a certain era. I'm not quite ready to buy one of those yet. That one's going to be be a little ways, at least a few months. Honestly, I'm probably going to buy it new, to be honest. I don't need I don't want a vintage one. I don't want or even a older used one. Honestly, I just, I want to buy one brand new. So, fortunately, I won't have to pay full price because I work for a Gibson dealer. But so it'd have to be a really, really, really sharp, really clean used one for me to consider going that route. So, at a really good price. You guys are talking amongst yourselves. JT Mopar says, please don't mention JCM 800. I still regret selling mine. Sorry, dude. Yeah, I can only imagine. Rick James 5150 says, "What do you do when you were in a playing rut?" I'm probably the wrong guy to ask about that, man, because yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't really have a whole lot of time that I get to just sit down and play guitar for my own enjoyment anymore. Most of most of the stuff, most of my playing that I do is all recorded on camera these days. So, as far as like writing riffs and stuff like that, um, I I don't know, man. Like this is really, I guess my biggest struggles with like solos and stuff. Because all my solos sound the same because I know like 5 or 6 lead riffs, and I just kind of figure out how to put them all together in different orders and different keys for different for different purposes so that they sound different. But that's really kind of about the extent of it. The video on the Bogner Ecstasy Blue pedal that went up a few days ago. I mean, from a demo standpoint, that was probably the best. I thought was the best pedal demo that I had put up in a long, long time, and I was actually really, really, really proud of the short full track that I had included in that video. And of course, it tanked. Nobody watched it. So, yeah, I don't know why that works, man. Why it works that way. For some reason, just the more effort you put into it, for me, I guess the more effort that I put into it, the less it seems to the less people take notice. Yeah, I'm not I'm not much of a lead guitar player, and I'm not much of a songwriter. So, I'm probably the wrong guy to ask that question. My answer is keep powering through and keep doing what you're doing and buy more gear. find a new piece of gear that's inspiring you in a way that something else didn't. That nothing else you have is already doing for you, I guess. So, haters for this. Mike St. Croix says, haters for the sake of hating. My first amp was a Peavey Studio Pro 40. I still have my second amp, Crate GFX 120 DSP. Crate GFX 120 DSP. Actually, a pretty cool amp. That was like line 6 before there was a line 6, basically. Yep. Crate. I wish Crate amps. I love Crate amps. I wish they were still around. Jack Bird says, I saw a video on the new Floyd Rose guitars. They look real nice, but the canopy expensive. I'm a little leery of Floyd Rose guitars, man. The last time that they were putting out guitars, you're right, they're good guitars, but there's they were a lot of them had those Floyd Rose speed loader things on it that now Floyd Rose has been saying for years they're gonna come out with more, they're gonna re-release a new run of those speed loader strings that nobody else makes, and they've never done it, at least not that I've seen. So now there's a whole generation of, not generation, but there's several long runs of Floyd Rose, and BC Rich got screwed by that too. Guitars out there on the used market that you can't give away because you can't buy strings for the damn things. Glass Slide says, always recognizable as the model featured in the guitar dual scene in the 86 film Crossroads. Jackson Pro Series Limited Edition San Dimas SD22JB. I think that's the guitar that we were just talking about. Jackson Pro Series Limited Edition Jackson San Dimas. Huh, interesting. Yeah, that's the one we were just talking about. The guitar of the movie, anyway. Jack Collins says, Robert, I have what they call a crate and a crate amp. Go ahead and speaker separate. They look like crates, 112. Speaker, I got it when I was 12. I'm 52 now, wondering how old it is. That sounds well. The early crates. I mean, that's where they got their names. They were they literally were built inside of a crate. um, their old wooden crates is what they were. Those amps are built out of. So or built inside of. Yeah. So if it's if you got one of those, that's probably late 70s, early 80s, something like that. Mike St. Croix says I mostly play my EVH 5153, L34, Peavey 6505 Plus, and Fender Super Champ X2 for shits and giggles. I'd like to. I need one of those new the new EVH. I kind of want all those lunchbox amps that they got out now. There's 3 of them now, and that would give me pretty much all the EVH tones, between the 3 of them without being any louder than I need to be here in my home studio. So I've thought about I'd like to have some of those, and and I really need to just shut up and buy the damn thing, but not until after I buy my Les Paul. The stupid, not the stupid, but good old just a 5150. I'd either want a 5152 or a 6505 Plus head. One of them, the same amp. I don't care which one, but guys on the forums crack me. Oh no, the early 5150s way better than the 6505s. Those ones had this. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. It's the exact same amplifier. The exact same amps. No differences. Period. Dave Escobar says I have an 86 Jackson Dinky signed by Grover on the back of the headstock. Wow. Blue Crackle, oil finish, big neck, big thick slab of rosewood. Super fast, one humbucker JT6. Nice. Those old Jackson pickups, those things sound pretty good, dude. I like those pickups quite a bit. They're a little bit bigger than everything else out there, so you can't just drop them into everything. But, those old Jackson USA pickups are actually really, really good sounding pickups. There goes Zoe. New Ibanez AZ Telly Prestige. Looks awesome. A lot of people seem to like that Ibanez AZ line. Particularly, it's, and hats off to Ibanez for putting more effort into getting into the Strat Telly market. A lot of people seem to like those guitars. I haven't played any of them yet, but Charles 75N says, "Got to run." Cool, dude. Have a great rest of your Saturday. And DR Guitars is out the door as well. Thanks, Dave. Maverick TG88 Top Gun says, "What do you think of the new Fender guitars coming out? I like the 75th and the Ultralux Strat Silverburst." The Ultralux stuff, I think seems pretty cool. Basically, the Ultralux is, it's the Ultra series with stainless steel frets. We were talking about that one on the live stream last week. So, they're basically, that's literally what they are. Is they're Ultra Strats with stainless steel frets. So, which took Fender long enough to come out with a guitar with stainless steel frets on it, but as far as I know, that's pretty much what those guitars are. 75th anniversary, somebody mentioned that earlier in the about an hour or so ago. As he had just bought one, so I haven't seen any of them yet, but they're Fender. How bad could it be? That said, DR Guitars, who has now left the building, said earlier here about a half hour or so ago that he just bought a new one of the new American Professional American Pro 2 Tellys that just came out a few months ago, and he said that thing was all kinds of screwed up right out of the box. It was, frets weren't leveled, and nut wasn't cut right. I mean, it was basically, in other words, he had to send it back, and vendors got to send him another one. Because vendor had their head up their ass when they boxed that one up and sent it back to the factory, or shipped it out of the factory. So hopefully it was that was a fluke. Most of the fender stuff that I see come out of the box these days is usually pretty good, but. JG Mopar says that rhythm tone on the Bogner pedal was awesome. There's a lot of sounds in that pedal that I thought were awesome. I had always wanted the red version of that pedal because it was the higher gain one. But as I'm getting older, I don't play with as much gain as I used to. I'm discovering I don't need to hide behind it anymore. Certainly not like I did when I was younger. Or maybe I do need to. I just don't desire to do so anymore. But yeah. So I've always wanted the red, and I also really like the Ubershaw pedal. So maybe I'll get a hold of those one of these days. But of the three, the blue was actually always my third choice. And now that I'm older, that just happened to be the one that was available and I grabbed. Number one, it's got plenty of gain on the damn thing, for my purposes today. And more importantly, it's just a killer sounding pedal, man. That thing sounds freaking awesome. Now I want to try the new, I think they're calling it the mini pedals, even though they're more like standard sized stomp boxes. But yeah. Yep. And Mike St. Croix is off to enjoy his weekend. See you, Mike. Have a great day. Kobe says, why buy Gibson Les Paul at all when you have the Music Man Majesty? Buy another one of those. Why would I buy a Music Man Majesty when I already have one, when I want a Les Paul Custom to add to it? I love my Majesty. That one's never going to be. That one's I highly doubt. I highly doubt even the Les Paul Custom is going to surpass the Majesty as being my favorite guitar. But at this point, just because I've fallen so hard in love with the Majesty, would I like to have have another Majesty out of the collection? Yeah, I would. But I've been chasing that Les Paul Custom a lot longer. So. Imagine, that's Les Pauls sound like Les Pauls. I mean, there's something really, really unique about them that Majesty's never going to be able to do. William Silva says, just dropped off my Balaguer archetype to my tech to have him put a Pegasus bridge. Either a whole lot of humbucker or DiMarzio PAF in the neck, whichever one he thinks will make the most sense. If you're going Pegasus in the bridge, yeah, that I don't know anything about that guitar, but Pegasus is a pretty hot humbucker. If you want something a little more moderate, pardon me, if you want something a little more moderate in the neck, I would probably go. I don't know. A whole lot of humbuckers is a good pickup. I would still probably go with either the Jazz or the 59. Those two are my favorites for like more moderate output neck humbuckers in the Seymour Duncan line. Jack Attack is here. Welcome, sir. JG Mopar says, I noticed one of your older videos you had a 6505 Plus combo. Do you still have it? Yes, I do, actually. I do have it. I don't play it that much because there's there's something funky going on with the rhythm channel, and it just, I mean, that's the 6505s have never been the cleanest amps in the world. So I mean, it's not like I'm trying to get a Fender sound out of it, but I mean, this thing has nothing even remotely resembling a clean in it. It's almost like, it could just be something as simple as a preamp tube that's fried, that I just need to pull in there and replace. But I don't know. I don't know. I keep meaning to take it down to my amp guy, and have him go through it, but I've never gotten around to it. So I used, the main reason I bought that one was to have something slightly lower wattage, a little bit smaller to gig with. I've had it for a long time. That was the reason why I bought that amp, and I keep it around, mostly because it's whether I'm gigging with it or not, honestly, it still sounds killer. So. Yeah, I mean, I'm not getting rid of it anytime soon, but it does need a little bit of work. A little bit of work, and, most everything I've been recording lately has all been direct. So, like I said, I want to change that. That's part of the reason why I want to sell my multi-track recorder and replace it with a PC in that room so that I can do more direct recording, more miking with amps and stuff like that than I have been lately. But there's a process and a number of things that all have to happen in order for that to happen. So, Jack Collins says Robert McCrate, in a crate amp still works and still kicks butt. I don't know if that's a typo or you're doing voice to text or something, but I think it's supposed to say my crate in a crate amp still works, and they do, man. Those things you can't kill the damn things. Same with old Peavey solid state, man. Solid state amps, they may look like hell, but they still work just fine. RJ the Mad One, those like the Peavey JSX and the Peavey Triple X 2. Same amp. Yeah, same. Yeah, basically, when Satriani jumped ship from Peavey and went to Marshall, and they didn't want to quit. They didn't want to quit making the amp, so they just named it the Triple X 2. Creative username says, "Is this the real Robert?" Near as I can tell. I feel that, so I don't know who else it would be. Trent Cersoni says, Mr. Robert, I have a new Schecter C6 Elite Diamond Series and Aqua Burst, and pair with a Peavey Viper VIP 120 and $300 guitar. Sounds amazing for $145 amp. Sounds good too. Yeah, I mean, the Vipers are, I hate modeling amps. I cannot stand them. I hate spending more time dialing, twisting knobs than I do playing through the damn things. That's just me. I mean, I'm never going to be a modeling amp guy. That said, a lot of people, especially, people younger than me, and even people my age and older, that, really gotten into the convenience of modeling amps, and they are convenient. I don't deny that, but they've never been for me. But a lot of people do like them. So, JG Mopar says I have a few J80C and J50, J90C Jackson pickups I have saved with JE1200 electronics. I've got I've got an '87 Charvel Model 5 that's got a I think it's the J90. Which one's the high output one? I think it's the J90 in the neck and the bridge, and then the J50 in the neck. I think is what that one has. I don't know. I think that's it. That's not what had it. That's not what came in it when I got it. But I think it's. I did the research and put whatever it was that came in it stock from the factory. I went and bought those parts along with the preamp and put them back in it to put it back to stock as best I could. Because whoever it was had a, he had a he had a DiMarzio Super Distortion in the neck, and then he had moved the original neck pickup that was in it to the bridge, and I didn't like the sound of it at all. Stacy Brown says, "Remember the Quantum amps from the '80s?" I do not. Well, yeah, I don't think I recall them actually. I don't want to say yeah I do and say no I don't. I don't know that I don't think I've ever seen one. Jack Bird says, "Robert, keep doing what you're doing. Play more guitar. Stop the madness in our world." See you next time. Thank you, sir. Thanks, Jack. You have a great rest of your weekend. William Silva says, "I've been tempted to buy an Uberschall pedal a couple times, just can't seem to pull the trigger." I haven't looked at them, see what they're selling for in the used market, but I'm sure that they're not going to be all that cheap. I think that was the cheaper one of the line, because when they first came out, the two Ecstasy pedals were $299. The Uberschall was $249. So I'm willing to bet that the Uberschall probably sells for at least $150 on the used market. Bought a Pettyjohn Rouse last week instead. Pettyjohn pedals are pretty good too. I don't own any of them, but still here, just getting new. Park Henry says, "Still here, just getting new strings on the hacks from Phantomin." I knew it was a Phantomin that you bought. That's the Ghost Signature model, if you're not familiar with it. Mikey Gabbard says, "There's a couple Majesties for sale on my local Craigslist. A Starry Night for $28.50 and a BOK Black Knight for $2,000. I'd have to. There's been a lot. They've already got a lot of different versions of the Majesty out there. I'd have to see exactly which ones they are, if to determine what they're. If those are legit prices for those. They sound a little high on the off the top of my head, but I'm not sure. I'm entirely sure which ones you're talking about." Creative username says, "Line 6 Spider 4 best amp of all time." No, far from it. The Line 6 Spider 4 was the best amp of all time if you're only considering Line 6 amps of that one, that had come out before it, then yes. But even then, it was only marginally better than the 1, 2, and 3, and the Spider 5s have completely kicked all of them in the ass. So the Line 6 Spider 4 isn't complete garbage like the 3 generations before it, but I'm never going to lose any sleep if I don't ever own one. Kobe also says, "I miss any discussion about the Chapman new releases this year. Top of the line has stock Pegasus and Sentient set. I'm intrigued." Nope, I have not. We haven't talked Chapman at all today. I haven't seen what they're putting out yet at all, to be honest. So, but that's cool. They're using Duncan pickups in some of their stuff. I like the Chapman pickups that are in the two that I have, though. I think their electronics actually are pretty good. William Silva says, "I only had those 2 4-conductor pickups in my possession to choose from." I see. He's going to check the output rating and pair whichever one will work best. I may get a set of Fluence Moderns if I don't like them. I keep meaning to try the Fluence Moderns, and I was pretty determined I was going to buy a set to put in that Colossus guitar that I've got, but the more I'm thinking about it, I mean that those guitars have already generated so much hate, because of all their QC issues that they've and design flaws and stuff like that they've put out over, that are so inherent on those guitars. One, I don't know that I'm ever going to be able to get rid of it, and it's going to be a lot of work for me to have those things installed, and I'm not sure I want to put the effort into it as well. The more that I think about it, so. Jack Attack says, aren't Comet amps indirectly linked to Ken Fisher? I'm the wrong guy to ask, unfortunately, because I am not familiar with Comet amps, and I have no idea who Ken Fisher is. So, yeah, I need a refresher. Dave Escobar says, what's for lunch today? Burrito or chimney today? I don't know. I'm still debating whether or not I want to get in the car and I want to go drive down all the way to the Guitar Center on the other side of town, not the one closest to me, the one farthest from me, and to go pick up an amp that I have reserved there. If I do that, that's going to be a 2-hour ordeal, close to it. And I'm really kicking myself for not just paying the $20 to have them ship it up here. But I also didn't want to risk UPS playing football with it. So I don't know. I haven't thought much about lunch yet. Lunch on Saturdays isn't nearly as fun in the wintertime. Summertime's a lot more fun because as soon as I get done with my live stream, then I shut it off, and then I go downstairs and fire up the grill. But it's cold outside, and I don't like doing that in the winter because it's cold outside, and I hate cold weather. JG Mopar says, I have a Viper 40. Viper 40 and the digital artifact really show. I like the amp, but it sounds pretty fake. Yep, fake is probably, that's probably the best description I can think of for those types of amps. That's why I don't like them. They just, they just sound fake. So, William Silva says, I found myself playing my Buddha Super Drive 18 over my JVM lately. Love that amp. It's got Friedman front end in it. You ever play any of that series amp? Not that particular one. I've played a few Buddha amps over the years, and they're all killer. We were talking earlier in the live stream that about Buddha amps in particular. I really wish Peavey would do something with them, but thus far they have not. I mean, they've got a few Buddha products out there, but I don't know that they currently manufacture any amps with any real seriousness. So Mikey Gabbard says, I have a Boss Katana 50 that I really like. They're way overhyped and don't sound nearly as good as all those 5-star reviews out there. Well, you gotta kind of take that with a grain of salt because a lot of people buy a Katana 50 and they're expecting a Mesa Boogie Dual rectifier, and it doesn't work that way. Katana 50 is $300 or so, $200 or $300. If you're realistic about about what they are and what they do, which is again that kind of practice amp, modeling amp arena. They do that. If in the affordable price range, they do absolutely do that very, very well. So I think they do it as well as any of the other amps out there that they're competing against. You know, they do that very, very well, but it's not a VHT Pitbull or anything like that. Mikey Gabbard says the seller says the Starry Night is one of a kind because it has matte black hardware, not gold or oh god. Oh, so he's one of those sellers. Oh, it's one of a kind because it has matte black. That probably means that they did a run of like 10 of them. Ernie Ball does this a lot. They'll do a run of guitars of like 10 or something because they got a stack of a specific wood that they want to get rid of, or they ran out of a particular color of hardware, so they'll do 10 guitars in a row with the matte black hardware instead of the chrome hardware, just to keep production moving until they get the right parts back in again, stuff like that. And then they call it a limited run, and then people all of a sudden think that they've struck gold. Creative username says, does the Chapman stick have anything to do with Rob Chapman? Oh yeah. No, that's his guitar brand. He's part owner of Chapman Guitars, and he's also the face of the company, and pretty much I don't know what the ownership share split is, but but he's like the main guy behind Chapman Guitars. Lee Anderton owns a chunk of it, and there's a third owner in there somewhere as well. I can't recall who that is, but they are. Yeah, I mean that's Rob Chapman's guitar brand. They are one and the same. Park Kingery says, I'm on the fence on the Fluence Moderns. They sound good, but the price is high. Yeah, they are pricey. What are they, $200, $250 or so for a pair? For a set of two? Something like that? I don't know. JG Mopar says, I think the 50-watt Katana sounds better than the 100-watt. I've never compared the two. Let's see. Mikey Gabbard says, if you don't use Tone Studio or one of the Katana apps, you probably won't be happy with the stock sound you get. Could be. Could very well be. And that's, amps like that are designed that way nowadays, to get all of the, you got to start using all the digital stuff, the apps and stuff, to get all the full benefits and features out of them. Mm-hmm. Kobe out says, Robert, do you have any preferences shipping guitars, FedEx, UPS, or otherwise? Honestly, I think they're all, FedEx, UPS, USPS, any shipping company in the U.S. is complete garbage right now. I hate all three of them, all three of the big ones. So, preference. Honestly, I've had the best luck with the post office recently, to tell you the truth. But they won't. I don't think they'll take big guitar boxes anymore. So now you kind of, now you're stuck with FedEx or UPS. Between the two, I'd prefer FedEx, but they're more expensive. This stuff seems to arrive in much better condition with FedEx. But like I said, they are more expensive. So UPS is cheaper, but UPS of the three, UPS are by far the ones that are the most notorious for screwing something up. Yeah. No, I hate all the shipping companies. Kobe says Rob Chapman doesn't own the Chapman stick line. Okay, what is this? Is this something I assumed that by Chapman stick line you were talking about Chapman guitars? Is that something different? If that is something totally different, then I don't know anything about it. I've never heard of it. Finger tapping instrument size of a piano keyboard. Interesting. Okay. No, I don't know anything about those. Okay. William Silva says, "Did you ever look up those Ends guitars? I have a double cup wingy top, nicest guitar I've ever played, including PRS chords. I think I did look them up at the time. It's been a while now, or at least a few months. It seems like I reached out. I found them on Facebook and I sent them a message, but I never heard back. Oh well. Yeah, that's not hearing back from companies in that instance is just not uncommon. So that's sales 101. Matthew Perkins says shipping companies carry on location. UPS is best where I live. Ironically, but FedEx is best where I used to live. By best, I mean smartest idiot. Right. Dave Escobar says, I'm off on Monday, going to shady parts of town to go pawn shopping. Who knows what treasures or trash I might find. Killer deals, I wear my Timex and my old hoodie. Drive my older truck. Probably not a bad idea if you're going to go pawn shopping down in those parts of town. I'm not sure what area you're located in, but in my city, there's plenty of those areas. We don't really have a pawn shop that's like really dedicated to that like musical instruments and guitars is one of the things they really do. They do a lot of. I mean, every pawn shop here in town, they've got their pile of cheap Squires and Epiphones and stuff like that, and that's about the extent of it. Robert O'Brien says I've been using Boss GT8 for guitars and Boss GT6B for my basses, both through my PA. Had amps of all brands and seemed this has been my best rig, especially for the money. What can I upgrade? Well, honestly, if you're happy using, if you like the sounds that you're getting out of those things, the GT8, GT6B, why would you upgrade? The GT8 I remember was that was a really really popular processor when that thing came out. They don't like any of the digital modeling multi-effects processor stuff. They haven't held their value well over time as newer models have replaced them, but it doesn't mean they don't still sound good. If you're going to replace it with anything, I would, you might find the Boss GT 1000 or even the 100 would probably be the equivalent, which are still out there. you might find some familiarity with that model, or if you do step up to the GT 1000, that's the Boss's Helix equivalent, and those things do sound killer. I've I sat in on the Boss Rep demoing one of those. That he's a guy that was a really really good guitar player as well, but I sat in on his demo of the GT 1000, and that's a good sounding processor. I don't think it's ever going to overtake the Helix or the Axe effects, or the Kempers or any of those. But I mean, it has, honestly, it does have the same sound qualities either as any of those. So if you were going to upgrade, that's probably the direction I'd steer you. Creative username says, "Do you think guitars need to be?" That's the stupidest. Why would I get? Yeah. Let's see. I think we've had enough there of Mr. Creative Username. Douchebag. Michael Lewis says lots of USA Fender fakes in my area at those pawn shops. Yeah, I've here around here, I haven't been pawn shopping in a long time, but last time I did, there was no shortage of Chipsons hanging on the wall. Let's see. Made the mistake. Dave Escobar says, made the mistake one time of going to the pawn shop driving the vet and wearing an expensive watch. Nothing was negotiable for me. Yeah, I can imagine they weren't. You're not the kind of customer that they were, all that willing to go down on price on. Not if they can get the big money out of you. Let's see. Ian White said I plugged in today my old Digitech hothead pedal, and unfortunately no sound at all in the battery. But okay, on power supply, what can it be? The battery was new. Not sure. If you're getting power to it somehow, and you got everything plugged in right, make sure you're not running you're not going out of the emulated output on that pedal. If it's not that, then I have no. It sounds like there's something wiring some kind of internal wiring thing that's popped loose or something. Beyond that, I have no idea. So. William Silva says I got my Marshall cabinet pawn shop as well. Paid $350. Plus, they threw in an old pocket pod for free. Great deal. Gave the pod to my stepson. Old Line 6 pod. Kidney bean looking things. I guess now they got a mini version of that that's out somewhere. Oh well. What do you do? Well, where are we? Well, folks, I am heading for the ranch, as they say. I'm still haven't decided if I'm gonna make the drive all the way down to Greenwood and back, but maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll put that off to later in the week. At any rate, I guess I think about it. The football, today's football schedule also should play into that for me. At any rate, so don't forget to check out the video tomorrow, and everybody have a great Saturday. I got split.